When you have a big accomplishment like this, you can do nothing but smile.
So congratulations to everybody. And now I will sign the Great American Outdoors Act.
We welcome, but we wonder why he has been so destructive to the environment. The basic approach was to say, we have a bunch of land around this country that could be conserved, could be protected, monuments, parks, wildlife refuges, things like that. And why don't we set up a fund and use it for doing conservation? So basically, the idea is taking a non-renewable resource, which is the oil and gas, and dedicating it to something renewable that's going to be there forever. We have seen dramatic ups and downs in the fund. For example, when I would go into a local parks operation for a city or a county, and I would say, are you applying to the Land and Water Conservation Fund for money? And they'd say, oh, we did it for a couple of years and there was never enough money there, and so we don't bother anymore. You give certainty to the conservation movement and to all the people across America that want to work on expanding or creating new areas. And this is a great victory we've had in the Land and Water Conservation Fund, and we just need to move that forward.
This is a very big deal, and from an environmental standpoint and from just the beauty of our country standpoint.
I welcome his signature on this piece of legislation because it means that we're going to have full funding for Land and Water Conservation Fund, which will make a real difference for our children and grandchildren. But it doesn't wipe out the fact that his budgets that he presents every year, he tried to cut the Land and Water Conservation Fund. He wasn't supportive of it, but we always welcome people coming around. That's the business I'm in.
At some point, they'll have to start thinking about the Republican Party and all of the incredible things we've done on conservation and many other fronts.
There were no Democrats, in fact, invited to the White House. It was an entirely Republican event, which for me is very sad because this has always been a bipartisan program. That's the way my father approached it. He had a commission of bipartisan, headed by Lawrence Rockefeller, a staunch Republican, that said we should have a big fund that would weigh in the conservation arena. It was never fully funded. That was the dream, but it was never fully funded until today. And so that's pretty remarkable that we've come all of that distance. He's tried to gut the Endangered Species Act. He's taken a number of environmental actions that are very, very harmful to parks, public land, and to future generations. We get our clean air and clean water. A lot of that comes from our public lands, where you have watersheds that are creating clean water and clean air. And so This is why it's so important to be a conservationist and to work on these issues.